You know, it's funny how you have women and even some men that have been trained to believe that most men are pedophiles or perverts, and that when it comes to children, the ones that are more likely to molest, when you ask if it's men or women, the ones that are more likely to molest is said to be men. And then you have this sex offender registry, whereas a man that even tries to text an underage girl gets put under the jail. His whole life is destroyed. He's put all in the paper. His name is all in the paper. And if he lives in a small town, his reputation is done. He loses his job and everything. Then when he finally comes out of jail, he's still on the sex offender registry just for texting an underage girl, just for texting, right? And you even have kids that are on the sex offender registry. And I always say, as a side note, the sex offender registry is nothing more than a war against heterosexual men and boys. Plain and simple. That's what it is. Plain and simple. Because when women do stuff like that, or when they even have sex with underage kids, they don't end up on the sex offender registry. When they text underage kids with sexual messages, which have been in the news plenty of times, they don't end up on the sex offender registry. And it happens more often than people think. When you hear of teachers that are with young girls that are their students, it's like the worst thing in the world, right? But why are there so many stories? If you really look, there are so many stories of women doing the same thing. You know why you don't hear about it as much? Like if a guy does it, it's typically on CNN, it's on NBC, it's on every fuck nigga news network that you can think of. Every propaganda spewing news network you can think of that people actually watch. And everybody knows that if you go to any restaurant in a major metropolitan area of any city, if they have the TV playing, they're always playing CNN or NBC. So this is all you hear about is men doing these things, right? And as another side note, you ever notice how when they talk about men, whether they're teachers or whatever that are with underage girls, they always say that this man raped the 16-year-old girl, this man raped the 14-year-old girl. They never say statutory rape. So they want you to believe that he forced himself on this girl, and it should be justified that he's ass raped in prison, thrown under the prison, maybe in solitary, and then when he comes out, his life should be destroyed and he needs to be on the sex offender registry. But you know what's funny? We don't have a registry for murderers and drug dealers, do we? I mean, drug dealers sell to kids, and they get kids to sell drugs for them. And some of the kids either overdose or get killed trying to sell these drugs by other drug dealers or by their boss if they don't, do what they're supposed to do. And then you have murderers. Why don't we have a murder registry? You know why? Because when it comes to things, sex is more important than any fucking thing. And when it's a heterosexual man or boy, sex is wrong. I mean, they go through so much trouble. A sex offender registry, I always thought that was crazy. But the thing is, like I said, women do this, and the reason why you don't hear about it as much is because these female stories with women doing this, they hardly ever make national news. There used to be a person on YouTube. He went by a couple of names. His name was Too Late to Save. It was No Need for a Woman. And those are the two that I can remember, if anybody recalls this person. They were on to YouTube for a short time. And I don't know how he got a hold of these stories, but he was the only source that I've ever seen, the only person that I've ever seen on the internet, period, that harvested a shitload of stories that were only local to different cities and states, never national news, of women that were molesting, beating their kids, killing their kids, sitting up there, cutting open another woman's stomach to take the baby out of her womb so they could carry the baby as their own. I mean, women that was stuffed like a girl in a suit, rape and torture, an 8-year-old girl, stuff her in a suitcase and leave her on the beach. All kinds of fucked up shit. I mean, and it wasn't just a few stories. When I tell you it was hundreds, damn near 1,000 videos, it was. Now, I have some of them, and I plan to, I can't upload them to YouTube because they'll ban them. So I have to share them in a way which is a little obscure than YouTube. But I'll figure out something. And when I do, I will post a video notifying you guys so you can see some of this shit. And they still might try to do something to me on YouTube saying that I have videos that are leading people to see this shit. But you need to see this. Okay? So, yeah. And he said he used to talk about the pussy pass. One of his names also was Vagina Pass. That was his last name before he went off of YouTube completely. He said he got frustrated because his videos kept being deleted a lot. And he said, you know how I know that women always get a pussy pass when it comes to a lot of crimes? And he pulled out a sheriff's badge. And he said, this is how I know. This is how I know what I'm talking about. You see there? So straight from the mouth of someone who really knows what time it is. And I feel like this is crazy. Like when it comes to sex offender laws and stuff like that. Okay. If a man takes a piss out in public and a child happens to see him or an adult happens to see him, and there are children in the area, but no children saw him, but an adult happens to see this man taking a piss, he gets arrested and he's put on the sex offender registry for taking a fucking piss. Okay? His whole life is ruined for the rest of his life. And when you're on a sex offender registry, they publicize your home address, your work address, all your business, your phone number and everything. Why? Because they want people to come after you and kill you. They want crazy psycho vigilantes who, you know, in their subconscious, they really want to fuck children themselves. But they try to like fight those demons by trying to do good Samaritan things and be vigilantes and chase down sex offenders or men to try to text teenagers. They try to chase them down and try to do justice when they're trying to really fight their own inner demons. So they publicize all these people's information on the internet for them to find easily. You can, you know, go to a sex offender registry website and you can find all the sex offenders on your area. It's like little pins on a map and you can find out where they live and you can go and kill any one of them. It's free for all. You can go and murder or harass or destroy the property of any of these people that are deemed as sex offenders. Some of them even being children. But does this registry tell you how old they are so you don't target the wrong people? No. Does this registry tell you what they exactly did? Like, instead of actually raping a 16-year-old, they had voluntary sex or they just texted? Does it tell you that they texted? It doesn't tell you the crime that they did. It really doesn't. So you have vigilantes going around in some towns killing these people. As a matter of fact, it's not so bad as it used to be, but it used to be much worse. Because the government wants them to go around killing heterosexual men. It's a war on heterosexual men. I've said this a long time ago when I used to make videos before. And what I don't get is that you have these laws, right? Okay, so if a man's taking a piss, that's a sex offense. If a man is walking around in a bathing suit, that's a sex offense. As a matter of fact, I think in the UK this happened, but the UK is just like over here when it comes to the laws. It's westernized laws. This man, if I could find this story, I will post it. I remember some years ago, there was a story of this man that was running around in a bathing suit. Now, mind you, he was not showing any sexual parts. The only thing that he had exposed was his chest and his buttocks, which is not sexual. So that's not supposed to be a sexual offense, is it? Right? People could say, oh, this man was a pervert. He was doing it for kids to see him. The man probably didn't even think about kids seeing him and didn't care. He was probably just doing it because there was either something wrong with him or Lord knows what. But anyway, they had it in the paper that they arrested this man because it was an endangerment to kids, and, you know, they were acting like they were going to charge him as a sex offender. Now, they will do stuff like that over here, too. Right? But tell me why sex offender laws require that people that are registered cannot live within a certain amount of feet of schools, playgrounds, or anywhere where children frequent. Even in schools in Coney Island, where I used to live in Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York. But tell me why in Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York, women can parade around showing their bare titties only 9 blocks from where kids go to school. They can show their bare tits in a parade called the Mermaid Parade. That's what it's called. Look it up. You'll see pictures and everything of these women with their tits all out in the fucking open. And if you think about it, I mean, and I'm going to do a little disclaimer before I say this. I don't want y'all to think that I'm just getting on to a certain race of people or just women. The thing is, in my last video talking about how women molest horses and things like that, it's called, what is the video called? Not about what's being done, but about who's doing it. That's what the video is called. And I talked about how women molest animals and stuff and how they get away with it, but men don't. And I basically said Brazilian women are some of the women that you see in the videos. More women do it around the world, but the most popular bestiality videos contain Brazilian women. And they're not just white, they're also black. But now, that's my disclaimer, saying that, you know, I'm not just talking about white women, because black women do shit too. But in this one, I'm going to tell you that typically when you see women that want to expose their fucking tits and whatever else have you, or carry around pictures of vulvas, which is a part of the vagina, carry around pictures of vulvas to try to prove a feminist point in a feminist march about women. You know, when they do shit like this, it's typically white women, feminist white women that are doing this. It's typically white women, period, that are doing this. Not black women. It's white women that are showing off. But we're the perverts, right? We're the molesters. And truth be told, like, you know, you have some racist white people, and then you have white people that are not racist. When we talk about the non-racist white people, including the women especially, typically when they talk about perverts and pedophiles, when they're talking about them, they're not talking about black people. They're talking about white men. And I've said in the past before in my older videos that there is a target on heterosexual men and boys, but there is a real target on white heterosexual men. There really, really is. This is a reality. No matter what nobody thinks, or if they don't care about white people because they're racist, I'm telling you what it is. Okay? And I used to say that the most non-privileged class is white heterosexual men. It's true. And if anybody wants to know why I said this, just ask me in the comment section and I will be glad to explain to you. Now, it doesn't mean that I side with white people, I sympathize with them or whatever, but I'm just telling you, that's the truth. Okay? It seems like when it comes to stuff like that, that men of other races that are targeted for these sex offender laws and other bullshit ass things that only prosecute men, they reap the benefits too, or the non-benefits, but you know. But anyway, it's like women can go around doing this. These white women are the ones that like showing off their bodies and drawing pictures of pussies and talking about pussy in front of kids. It's white women that are doing this. But we're the perverts. I'm trying to understand, if you're showing your tits about 9 blocks from where kids go to school at, but a person that tried to text an underage girl or had voluntary sex with an underage girl can't live within thousands of fucking feet from the school, but you can parade yourself around doing this. You can have pictures of vaginas and stuff where kids can see it and parade yourself around doing this. And the same thing goes with those that gay pride parade. It's the same thing. Inappropriate wear and behavior in front of children, but we care about kids, right? Like I said before, it's not about what's being done, it's about who's doing it. And when it comes to caring about kids, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. Not with all this shit. That's not caring about kids. And any men who sit up here, I've heard men say to me when I talk to them about this, they'll say, well, when they're showing their titties and stuff, they paint the nipples, or, you know, the nipple is covered and that's the sexual part, so they should be able to show their breasts. You know, because these men are perverts, so they like to see that shit out in the open in front of children. They don't care. They think it's no harm. And you have women that think it's okay, like they'll try to justify showing breasts in front of kids, like that's healthy for them and shit. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? So they'll say, oh, only the nipple is a sexual part, which is usually covered. Really? Wow. The day when men sit up here and support showing private parts to kids just because it's females. A fuck redot.